Hey everyone, this is Kit Cabell of hardlensmedia. We are wrapping up the Urban Environmentalism panel here in the city of Chicago, and we are joined here today with a person who's been on hardlensmedia before, Jessica Fujan, who is one of the main directors for Food and Water Watch Midwest. So essentially, what are the necessary actions to really get grassroots organizations really to be involved in the political atmosphere in the United States? Because currently, right now, we have an administration as well as state and federal elected officials who, for the most part, have ignored grassroots organizations. What are the necessary steps to really get them out there, grassroots specifically, into the political field?
Yeah, I would actually push back on that. I think especially since the election, we've seen that there have been massive I would say that there have been massive victories on the part of grassroots communities who are organizing for various issues. I think one of those was the win that we had recently on healthcare. It wasn't a permanent win, but I think that it was because people were in the streets. And I think that we've seen a lot of members of Congress get their pants scared off by a lot of their constituents who had not previously turned up to town hall meetings. People who are ready to make their voices heard, who are witnessing, I think, the evils that are possible at the federal level, maybe for the first time because we have a criminal tweeting about them. I think here in the city we actually have a really great opportunity to get people engaged because we have so many elected officials in densely urban areas like we do in Chicago. That means that we have a lot of accessible elected officials, people that we can drive to or even ride our bikes to their offices, and that gives us an opportunity to ensure that we have the votes we need to make the change we want to, especially in the state legislature. On the flip side, I think we talked at this event today about how we at Food and Water Watch have the opportunity to go see those elected officials in the city. You know, you don't have to drive all the way to Springfield to meet your state elected officials. You don't have to go all the way to DC to meet your members of Congress. And so we're able to do that right here in the city, and a lot of people are really interested in that. We've seen a lot of great movement in that way.
And speaking of Springfield, you have mentioned in the past that there's going to be a huge march towards Springfield in regards to fracking in Illinois. What is the current situation with the approval of fracking here in our state? And have there been any elected officials, be it state senators or House representatives, either Democrat or Republican, standing with Food and Water Watch Midwest?
Yeah. So what we've seen is the IDNR did unfortunately approve the permit for Woolsey Energy's well in White County, Illinois. Unfortunately, the legislature didn't give a lot of power to the IDNR to reject those permits, meaning that this energy company was really shepherded through the permitting process until it came to fruition. And so rather than focusing our energy on just this one small permit, we are collaborating with members of the House and the Senate on advancing legislation to confront this issue in a number of ways. I think at Food and Water Watch, you know that we were the first national organization to come up for a ban on fracking, and that is what we would like ideally. But we also know that there are other avenues that we can take, whether it be zoning regulation or even confronting the challenges that we see with eminent domain in rural communities that can help alleviate that burden from the IDNR and put it back in the hands of elected officials.
And going forward, especially for 2018 and 2020 election cycles, what will be Food and Water Watch's at least play in regards to reaching out to local communities as well as talking to state and federal representatives?
Yeah, that's a great question. So luckily we have a sister organization, Food and Water Action, which is a 501c4, and we have been participating in some electoral exchanges across the country. Here in Illinois, we're interested in getting our feet wet in that way. Right now what we see though is that our issues of environment, of climate, and with water accessibility are really resonating with people of all political backgrounds. And what that means is that elected officials on either side of the aisle need to be worried about the fact that their constituencies are watching them make bad decisions on the part of those people in favor of energy companies, even in the case of private water companies. And so we will be involved, we will continue to be involved as Food and Water Action in some of those campaign activities, but for now we see that our issues play a big enough role in that decision making.
All right, and final question in regards to reaching out to communities and getting people involved. Will you think there'll be more panels like this in the future? And if so, will you guys cover much more larger subjects such as income inequality as well as environmental racism and how it affects all communities? Will you guys be covering more panels like that or being more involved in larger events like this?
Yeah, I don't think that we ourselves have any panels coming up in the near future, but we do, I mean, as you know, we see each other at these a lot. We do participate in forums like this all the time because, as we saw today, these issues are intersecting and impact people in different ways. I think that in terms of income inequality, I think there are different battles that different organizations fight. At Food and Water Watch, we do have a mission, and that is focused around safe, sustainable food and water resources, but that doesn't mean we don't partner with groups across the country. One, I think, unlikely partner that we work really closely with is the Hip Hop Caucus in Washington, D.C., because there is no one issue that's separate from the others. So there will be other panels in the future. I wish I could tell them to you right now. I'm not quite sure. But we'd be happy to work with any of these groups who are working for justice and strengthening democracy.
All right, well, that's a great note to end it on. Jessica, thank you so much for joining Hard Lens Media. Peace, everyone.
You're watching Hard Lens Media.